Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead, another episode of On the Wrong Lead Live. And yeah, we have some big stakes action coming up this week. We have is it all graded stakes? Is it all G1? It is an all G1 pick five. And, sometimes I think, stakes racing can be a little chalky. Can get I don't know. Sometimes you don't get the good prices in here. I have a couple of I think semi-strong opinions. I have one pretty strong opinion in the Travers itself. So I think that's how I'm going to try and make some money here. But first let me introduce the only person who I think thought that the camera DQ was absolutely justified 100%, and that Naira stewards are doing a great job. Mr. Mark Capitan, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I don't know if I would go as far as to say that they're doing a good job. I do think that a foul did occur, and they did call the foul. Now, I think we both have issues with the fact of those types of things being inconsistently applied, which is the bigger problem here. Is that oh geez, it's a foul today, but is it one tomorrow, or is it one when they get to Aqueduct in the fall? That's the bigger concern, right? And did a foul occur? Did something happen? Yeah, it did. It did. Did it affect the placing? I don't think it did. I think that's a bigger, argument that we could have about how I think I prefer the European rules. I would imagine you're the same, where okay, a fall occurred, maybe give the jockey days or give him a fine, but did it affect the placing? Probably not. Bettors get hurt in that situation. It's not a good look anyway around. I understand where you're frustrated. I understand where Twitter's in an uproar, and I think most people who were there who had the one were saying, "Geez, I was taken down," and that was the kind of BSDQ. So I understand that, but beyond that, it's Travers week. Really good card. I have some strong opinions. I have a couple of opinions about David Aragona's lines, which is not something I can say very often. He made one horse a favorite that I just do not understand, and we'll get there. But really, really good Travers Day card. I think there's a lot of different ways you can go about some races. I have a feeling that the two of us are going to be at least somewhat in agreement on the Travers, but I'm interested to hear kind of how we get to the where we end up with some of these, because there's a lot of different ways you can approach these races. So and a lot of different kind of how do you feel about certain things? There's a lot of conversations to be had there.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think the Travers is an interesting race. I think there's a couple different ways I think you can go there. Um, and I really do think that it's a race where if you have a real strong opinion, I think you're going to get at least a somewhat decent price on every horse except for one. That I think is probably not going to be even remotely
But but
close to the
but
correct
which one?
price.
But which one is the conversation? Because I
Well, actually,
think
there's two. There's two I think that are going to be very very
there's
short.
an argument to be made that there are four horses in the Travers that could all be favored. And I think I can make a legitimate argument why there's four different ones could potentially be favorite. And I think that's when we oftentimes look at races and you can very quickly kind of get down to, okay, this is gonna be your favorite and this horse has no shot, and right, here's how the board's gonna look at this. I don't know how the board's going to manage that race, because I can make a very solid argument on four different horses being the favorite in the Travers.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's going to be interesting race, and I think like some of the undercard races, I think, like I said, we can get a little bit chalky, but yeah, today that DQ unfortunately for me came at a time when I have a buddy who he's like, hey, it's like if you ever have an opinion or something like something you really like, just text me. Like he always likes to put some money down. So of course I tell him like, hey, this horse camera. This horse looks real good at 8-1. You're gonna want to get some money down on this one, I think. And Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pull a little bit of an Andrew Champagne and go into the Wayback Machine. So do you remember when the Forego and the now H. Allen Jerkens were not the old King's Bishop when they weren't on the same weekend? Because this is a new thing to have them both be on the Travers undercard in the last couple of years. Do you remember before when that used to be a thing?
No,
Okay,
I can't.
there was
Dude, I can't remember the names of these races, let alone what weekends they
okay.
fall on.
Okay. And the reason I asked that, there is not that long ago, probably 8 or 10 years ago, a horse won the won both of them in consecutive weekends. So just cool,
Interesting.
random Saratoga trivia piece.
Cool. And I think our guest is still
Is
getting
he?
settled.
Okay,
I'm
we'll
trying
we'll give him
to
a minute. That's fine.
figure out here. He Yeah, he's still getting his stuff worked out over there. But
Cool.
yeah, so tomorrow's card, obviously, if you guys are watching this right now, I was able to preview the late pick five with Chase Sessoms. So you can check that out in on the Notorious OTB. Check that out in all your podcast feeds. And I yeah, we had some pretty good discussion. We saw the feature race a little bit differently. He's all in on idiomatic. I was all in on I'm all in on randomized with a little bit of and I'm blanking on the horse's name now, but the two horses, Safi Joseph horse.
Soul of an Angel.
Thank you, Soul of an Angel. Kind of coming off the pace there. Mark, I know you were pretty set on idiomatic as well there, aren't you?
No, I'm not actually. I'm actually going to go a third or fourth direction. I
Oh
guess you
yeah,
go
yeah,
fourth
yeah.
direction. I'm actually really interested in Raging Sea. I think we've had this back and forth between, and I don't know if you wanted to talk about it or wait until Ed hops on to talk about it, but I think idiomatic and randomized. They've each beaten each other once. You've had the rubber match, and I think drawing a line between those two is really hard. But I think you have a pace dynamic where randomized is going to go to the front end. Zagara is going to probably be up close, maybe sitting just behind. And I honestly think Idiomatic doesn't necessarily have to press randomized, but has to at least keep randomized honest on the front end. And I think it really develops a pace dynamic where Raging Sea, the other Chad, the three horse, kind of might trip out, be able to sit kind of, that pocket trip, sit, 2-3 lengths off the pace and let the three of them beat each other up and then take over top of the stretch. And I think Raging Sea is going to get a little bit lost because randomized and idiomatic are both very known names, and I think you get every bit of that 9-2, and she's been in really really good form. If you draw a line through the Ogden Phipps, she's just she's been in absolutely phenomenal form. Now I realize the Ogden Phipps had both randomized and idiomatic in it, but I think there's a couple other reasons why she didn't fire that day. Track was a little bit wonky there, and the track was very, very unfavorable to anybody coming from off the pace at all. That was the Belmont Stakes Day. So yeah, I think Raging Sea might really trip out and get a little lost on the board. And maybe the horse of the now, where not that idiomatic and randomized haven't been win machines for a while, but I think there's a new fresh face in what is a really good division. So
Yep. And
hey, there he is.
there's Ed. Ed, how you doing, man?
I'm great. Travers. Well, no, I guess it's not Travers Eve just yet. King's Plate
No,
Eve.
it's the penultimate day before the Travers. But yeah, we were just talking personal incident a little bit, which I know is tomorrow. Do you have any opinions in that race?
I would say my strongest opinion at Saratoga this weekend is in the personal ensign.
Okay. What are
Want to
you
hear it?
feeling? Yeah, of course we do.
I'm feeling Zagara.
Interesting.
Yeah. I love the getting the 6 pounds from Idiomatic. I'm a weight guy, so I definitely think that's not inconsequential. You're looking at the same Brisnet PPs I am, and admittedly the Black Bold numbers aren't overly optimistic on the Brisnet scale. But as far as the Ragozin sheets go, she's there enough for me at 10-1. So I'm singling her in the Grand Slam.
Oh, the Grand Slam bet. That's a fun little bet there. Our friend Andrew Capone likes to call it the Grand Salami bet. And I know every time I don't know how he, sometimes talking to Andrew, he just like gets you excited about just like random shit. I mean, the man's a natural born salesman. But when we went to when we were there last year, I think Caleb and I ended up playing every single Grand Slam, and I don't think like we've ever played the Grand Slam like at all. But he just
I
like
love
he would
it.
just talk. He talked the bet up so much. We're like, all right, we're gonna slam this thing for like $20, right? And we're just gonna go real narrow. Maybe use two horses in the lat, And but yeah,
Yeah,
it's a fun little bet. Um,
yeah. Frank Angst loves it. So he plays it pretty much every day. I'm not quite to that level, but uh, the bet's built around getting that win horse home, and liking a 10-1. I feel like it's actually a wager where I can leverage that opinion. So I don't know what I'm going to do leading up to it. Narrow is almost certainly the play, unless you're really against another favorite and you want to, maybe go two or three deep to beat an odds on out of the show money. But yeah, I'm excited to bet Zagara.
all right, well let's take a look here. We're gonna go over to Saturday here and look at this all stakes or all grade one pick five here. And yeah, we talked a little bit before you got on Ed about how these sequences tend to be or at least group one, grade one, and group one racing in general tends to end up chalking out a bit. I at least in the early races, I kind of had a hard time getting around chalk, and I think I saw you on Twitter just now. You pretty much posted like, it is going to be a little tough to make money. I think horizontally. I think vertically, there's a chance to make some money in this race in particular because man, is there a horse in this race that just absolutely loves to run in second, huh?
I think it's a great sequence and really day, and I'm not sure what's on tap because Saturdays are kind of tough for me to devote a whole day unless I'm working. I really wish this were a contest opportunity for me, because for live money, where pick five isn't even allowed, uh, being able to really narrow in on an opinion, which I think these types of races, is Jonathan Kinchin, is kind of infamous for pointing out. But more than just plunging on the win end, I think there are some exacta and trifecta opportunities that if you wait and watch the will pays, you'll put yourself in a better case than trying to shoehorn some caveman pick five that's going to pay $80.
Yeah, and race nine here, we get a pretty small field of only six horses. Your morning line favorite at even money is going to be the four Silver Knot. You get the other Appleby horse, Measured Time at 7-5 here. Soldier Rising and Far Bridge at 8-1, and then Pioneering Spirit and Grand Sonata at double digits in this one. So as the chalkier of the bunch, Mark, I will let you go first here, and why don't you tell me where you landed here, race nine?
I'm gonna be amazingly uncreative, and I don't really need to talk about it too long. I'm between Measured Time and Silver Knot. I really can't draw a line between either the two of them. Measured Time's Manhattan was a phenomenal race, and I think Silver Knot's been in amazingly good form. The whole Elkhorn, Manowar, Bowling Green trio. I think those are the two horses you want. I don't really think you need anybody else beyond that. And I'll make our buddy Steven twitch, but I would use them both equally in the pick five. Close my eyes and just watch the race. I don't think there's any value to be had by trying to pick one over the other. And I couldn't find any prices in here that I liked, so nothing creative. Use the two equally.
Ed, where did you end up landing here?
Yeah, I mean, I also am a huge detractor from doubling up on the two obvious chalks, but I can't separate them, and B, there is no other alternative. I mean, none of the other four are close,
Nope.
and it's like, okay, maybe they both don't run their race, but even if you say it's a 60% chance that they each run their race, whatever that means for which one actually wins. Well, at 60% that they run the race, that's 40 they don't. And at 40% that they both don't is only 16%. I mean, yeah, I wish I had some longer shot, and the races we'll continue to discuss that you could sort of say, okay, I can be too deep here because I'm going to lean on an 8-1. And then I think you're okay. But I just kind of feel like, and the one benefit I'll say is it is the first leg. So for whatever reason, one of them is 3-5 and the other one's 6-5. And it looks like it's that way in the doubles too. And you just kind of get the sense, okay, one is being bet more than the other. I'll gamble and take the one that's longer. But if they're both even money, which unfortunately with takeout is possible, and the other four, or whatever that means the other four are, I'm just going to have to hold my nose, be narrow, hope to hit it multiple times, or pass on a pick five. I mean, that's an option too, because I totally agree with Mark. It's these two and everyone else. Grand Sonata would be the one I would want underneath as a key. So I'll definitely look at the exactas. And to me, I'm much more willing to gamble that Grand Sonata's second. I'm not going to waste any money on anyone else winning this race. I just don't see how it doesn't go through Appleby.
Yeah, I basically see the race exactly the same as you guys. If anything, I may just go with Silver Knot and just double up on however I'm going to be pressing this A wise. But I do think I'm similar to you. I think if I were to attack this race like in a tournament style, I would be keying Soldier Rising in second in as much as I possibly could. And maybe just use the two chalks on top with Soldier Rising in second, try and key an exacta that way. And because, I mean, if the two chalks run 1-2 either way, like you're not making any money. So maybe do like Measure Time and Silver Knot over Soldier Rising over Measure Time, Silver Knot trifecta or exacta, just exacta, and just kind of go that way. But I mean, outside of that, I just, yeah, this is unfortunately, I think kind of the state right now of our the stayer division here, where
Well, I mean,
Appleby said,
unfortunately, it's all these races. I mean, 6-7 horse fields. I mean, it's atypical you get 2 6-5s in that situation. But I mean, to me, it's an extreme example. But that's why the Derby is so great. And yeah, there's horses you say don't belong or whatever. But when you get 20 in the gate, the money's going to be way more inefficient than when there's 6.
yeah, I mean that's why field size is so important. I think.
Yeah. And why the greatest
As
stakes sucks.
I think as a better like graded stakes, like the graded stakes thing like just doesn't matter. I think you get better opportunity, betting a random Wednesday card at Turfway Park than you do on some of these G1 days sometimes. But
Well, and I will say, like, it's interesting, sort of the balance and cachet of, certain races like Kentucky Downs, huge money, but they don't get the world beaters. Chad Brown isn't there with 4 in a big race, and people respond to that and they're willing to take a shot. Whereas an example like the Boston Spa, where you're going to have to go against Chad Brown's 3, sometimes 4 in other races, makes you reticent to take a shot. So yeah, we definitely need less grade ones, but I mean these are 2 really good horses, and as a Breeders' Cup fan, certainly it merits watching them for clues of how they might run in November at Del Mar. But yeah, this is a tough race to get excited about from a wagering perspective.
all right, let's move on to race 10 here, the Ballerina. We're gonna be going 7 furlongs for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. And we have a couple more horses in here. We got a 8-horse field, but once again, we have an even money favorite in the 3 Vava, Scylla at 7-2, Society at 4-1, a Seed at 8-1. Then you kind of got double digits on everybody else. And this was another one where I had a bit of a hard time getting around Vava on this spot. I mean, just I don't know, since they kind of put this horse going 7 furlongs, just seems to, I don't know. He just is an absolute win machine. He's got that 1 second in the Madison earlier this year. Now, I guess the one maybe concern you could have for Vava, and it's been a while since she's run at Saratoga, but in 2 starts at Saratoga, she's got a second, and at least on Brisnet, that figure did not come back very strong compared to what she's run. But it's been a while. It's a different horse at 4, so you take that with a little bit of grain of salt. But yeah, I basically keyed in on Vava. I mean, I am probably the only card carrying member of the society fan club, and I can't get behind society in this spot as much as I mean, I've bet society probably every single time she's run in the last 2 years. But yeah, I just had a real hard time getting around Vava. Um, like I said, the only, I mean, with Money's Gold and Society and even a seed in here, I don't see there being any shot that Vava doesn't get at least even some pace to run into, and even if she doesn't, it seems like she's been able to close into some pretty moderate paces. So I'm just singling a Vava here. What about you, Ed?
Not as bullish. I mean, like in the sword dancer, I'm only using those two, probably in equal strength. Bava, likely a lone A, but I am going to have some Bs, and we'll see how I juggle it all around because I do think Society in here is worth a look, and I'll tell you why. Looking at her Ragozin sheet, I was very much against her in the Chicago. She is never fired fresh. Her numbers are they're just the worst races of her career. And typically she does develop throughout the year, so I'm not sure about second time out, but it isn't the layoff at least. And she is getting 5 pounds. And depending on what Money's Gold does, who is, definitely not the filly she was hinting she might be when she was rattling off those wins down in Florida, if she can't keep up with society just might forget to stop, to use a cliche. So I definitely want society in the mix. Probably a lone B. I'll look at the double will pays for some pick 5 clues. Exceed would be the other one I would use, whether it's a C or a B. We'll see based on the price, but she has some races that kind of make you a little interested, and she might get the jump on Bava with Pratt and the bike. So, this is definitely one of those situations, though, where if they go ham on Scylla and she ends up being, the clear second choice, there could be some opportunities for like a 3-4 or a 3 exceed the 7. Yeah, 3-4, 3-7 type exacta plays. So, this is a race I am looking forward to the board because I think Scylla is going to be an underlay. Unfortunately, the chalk does look to talk again. You made all the right points on Baba. But Society, I'm interested in enough because she's gotten that race on debut already for this season. And I figure her to improve big time, and she gets the weight break.
Yeah, for the most part, Ed and I see this race extremely similarly. Albeit, I probably would flop Vava and Society as my A and my B.
All right.
I think with Society, big days at Saratoga, the track tends to be very speed favoring. And if you're a time form person, Vava has one fig that really kind of jumps off the page, and that's that last one in the in the Chicago where she ran a 124. Society consistently runs in the those mid 120s, 124, 126, 123, 125 are her last four. So, has Vaba suddenly found new form as a 4-year-old? I don't know, maybe. But Society consistently does those kind of figures. And, from a pace complexion standpoint, I think Ed has it very much right. I think Society might get loose in here and she might just forget to stop, especially big day Saratoga. It looked like the rail was real good. She should be able to get that rail trip, and or at least the rail was real good today. Looks like she should get that rail trip, and she just might forget to stop in this race. So, yeah, I think I prefer Society over Vava, especially given given what the at least what the morning lines are. And I don't really think I need much more than just the two of those.
So we're all against Scylla, it sounds like.
Yeah, I don't want any
Yeah,
part of that horse.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I'm surprised at the cutback. I mean, it's a grade one. I mean, I get it, but uh, there was nothing wrong with that second to Adar Manor shipping out west. So it's curious.
Yeah, I don't know why they're cutting her back, and I mean, does the cutback help her closing kick? I don't think it does. So what's the intent with her? I would imagine they're going to keep her, close. But I don't know. I don't. If you want to get a price, there's other ways you could go in here.
Yeah.
All right, race 11, the Forego here. We're going to be going 7 furlongs on the main track for 4-year-olds and up. And yeah, another field of 8 here. Hey, we were getting 8-5 on the favorite in this spot here in Mulligan. But you get Gun Pilot at 3-1, Caligostro at 9-2, Run Classic 5-1, Baby Yoda 8-1, and you get double digits on everybody else. Mark, where did you land?
Yeah, I don't know if you just necessarily start with me, but I want no part of Mulligan, the 8-5 morning line. That horse is just a toss to me. Won his last
Wow.
three. I realize he's won his last three, but he has a very distinct every other pattern. This is the other race in here. I realize he won the two back, but that optional 80, which was the whatever if you want to form cycle it. But I thought there were just much more interesting ways to go in here on a horse that's going to be super super short. I don't know. Does he? He's not going to get loose in here. He should have pace pressure from horses like Twisted Ride. You have horses like Encore, and you have horses like even Baby Yoda is going to be pretty forwardly placed in here. So it's not like Mulligan's going to get loose. And I think. I don't know. I just didn't have any real love for Mulligan, and I ended up just tossing the horse. I landed on some big prices here, but it seems like Ed's a Mulligan fan, so let him talk about Mulligan, and then I'll hop on my stupid prices I like in this race.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he's the most likely winner. And if we were talking about locking in the morning line, I would say Mulligan of the three races we've talked about so far, I'd be the most excited to bet him at 8-5 than either of the chalks in the Sword Dancer or Vava at even money in the Ballerina. That said, it is going to be a similar approach to the Ballerina. Mulligan, I see as most likely, and actually would say 8-5 would be a fine price for me. But I cannot not use Encore getting a little bit of weight, but there's some number power there. Phil Bauer having a great meet at Saratoga, fantastic. Already talked about liking him in the personal ensign with Zagara. And then Cagliostro, I know this barn thinks the world of this horse, and most barns think the world of their graded stakes horses. That's not a news flash. There's definitely a little extra mustard on the way they've talked about this horse, even going back to last year when he was running some graded stakes, and hasn't done much wrong this year either. So this is a huge step up, but gets a little bit of weight too. And the outside coast is kind of interesting to me. Maybe a little bit of a handicap, but I think 9-2 is the right price. So I'm 6/7/8, and sort of my theme of the night. In addition to sort of structuring my pick fives that way, I'm going to be looking hard at what the exotics look like with those three.
Mark, I remember now why I soured on Society. I had a very large win bet on Society for the people. That was our pool
Oh,
party.
was
That
it?
was the date of our pool party. That
Oh, it was the
Chicago.
pool
It
party. Oh
Yeah,
Auckland pool
yeah,
party.
yeah. That was the
yeah.
day of the pool party where, yeah, we had a couple close ones there, but we made some money back. We not necessarily didn't do as good as we would hope, but yeah, I'm only using two horses. I'm using Mulligan in here, and I'm going back to the horse for course here in the 4 Baby Yoda. And I mean, I don't know what it is about Saratoga that this horse likes, but I mean, at 8-1, I will take a shot with an A here with Baby Yoda. I would probably also play it with in exactas. Last time out, obviously had a bit of a rough trip, and I think I'm hoping we get a little bit better of a trip here. We're going to a little bit longer of a trip. We're going to 7 furlongs. So hoping for just a little bit better of you know better ride here out of Baby Yoda. And I mean, I just think that you're going to get a
It's a
price
good
on it.
jockey.
It is a good jockey change. I mean, if there's two people who I don't know why I continue to bet, but I end up on their horses all the time. It's Eric Cancel and it's Manny Franco, and I just might as well be burning money. I think when I've been betting them lately, but PDT is actually jumping in with a real interesting question. What's the pour lineup? So, Mark, are you drinking water today again?
No, I'm drinking wine. So
Wine.
I'm horribly boring.
Ed, I don't think you've had time to even get a pour bourbon there.
No, we will be pouring afterward though, and I think I'm going to go with one of the new bookers.
Oh, nice. And then this is the bottle I had sent you earlier. I know the
Oh, the
the blur's on. Yep, Jack Daniel's single barrel proof rye. Funny enough, I've just not been drinking as much as I used to, and I'll tell you now, that barrel proof stuff now, when you're not like drinking it pretty like regularly, like it just
oh
hits
yeah,
you in the face way harder. To the point where like usually like I can do one pour and then I got to go to something like lower proof because it just like absolutely destroys my throat. Like it's funny. Nick Feldman's on the Four Roses Small Batch Select. Funny story about the Small Batch Select. Mark knows the story because he saw this happen in person. But NHC was, I believe, sponsored by Four Roses. It was sponsored 2 years when I was there with Mark and Caleb, and we were just firing at the windows, and they were giving us drink tickets, and they were giving us double pours of Four Roses Small Batch Select. Neat.
oh my,
And let's just say that Caleb did not make it past about I don't know 7 p.m. that night, and just kind of
that's a
passed
game.
out in the room there. So, um, but I see Rod posted
Do you
something.
remember when Baby Yoda got the same buyer as Flightline?
Yes.
Yes, I
Yeah.
do.
Oh man. But none, Mark, are you on Baby Yoda? I know you said you have some prices here you liked.
No, I mean Ed mentioned Cagliostro, the eight. The other horses, two horses I thought were both really interesting, who both have at least on time form figs are faster than Mulligan. Are the two horse Twisted Ride and the three horse Full Screen, who are both
Wow.
absolutely stupid prices on the morning lines.
Yeah.
And I mean, Mulligan's fastest is a 118, which he got in that last race. Twisted Ride's last out was a 121, and Full Screens was also a 121. So you can make an argument that maybe both of those figures are bad. But they come out of different races. I mean, obviously that Vanderbilt out of Twisted Ride, I didn't think was a terrible effort at all. So I'm kind of taking some shots in here. I'm going to have some of those kind of prices in there that makes sense if I can get around the chalk that you guys both love.
I always say, just handicapping the office or with friends or whatever. Like if you're a believer in time form, it's what you use, you trust
Hmm.
it, whatever.
Yep.
Like, and you're not betting these horses, then why would you ever use time form?
Exactly. Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and I run into like, you talk with people and they're like, oh, but something they trust has the right figure, or like for me, even shameless plug alert, like the HRN debut ratings, like a 5-star who's not a favorite is an automatic use. Otherwise, what are you using it for? So, I mean, Ragozin, which is my preferred performance number, has Mulligan. I mean, it's not even close. He is the fastest horse consistently. But if whatever you use is showing you that on a 15 and 20 to 1 morning line horse, I'm
Mhm.
never going to fault you for going in that direction.
Yeah. I mean,
The
Buyer has.
mistake would be not using them.
Yeah, I mean Byers has that speed, that last fig being a little bit faster, like 2 points faster than what Twisted Ride ran. But you're getting, I don't know, probably going to get 15 times the price. So yeah, I think I'll take some shots in this race. It was the one I felt on the in the sequence where I thought you could take some shots.
Oh,
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah,
seen that in a minute.
yeah. So I pulled up the optics plot for this race, and this was a I don't know. I looked at this and I was a little curious. Like, what do you guys think of this pace? I mean, they have this. I mean, almost looking like three across at the start with the 2, 6, and 8. You maybe you give the 8 a little bit of a break because he hasn't run at this distance, and I'll scroll in a little bit to make this a little bigger.
I mean, I wish Run Classic was projected to be a little bit of a better price
Yeah.
because, and not because he's a win threat necessarily, but I mean that's just a classic. How is he not third? But 5-1, it's a little less exciting. But sometimes you see plots like that, and the horse is going to be fifth, sixth, seventh choice, and
Yeah.
an opportunity to reverse key.
Yeah, that's the kind of horse that you'd almost be shocked if doesn't hit the try, right? Like that's just kind of how he runs. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and Nick Feldman says he's going to be taking a shot with number 7 here. First time Irad Ortiz in the dirt sprint, and Phil Bauer as a trainer, and that's a 7 Angkor, who we haven't really talked about. Mark, you said you really like the 2, and did you talk about your 3 that you liked a little bit?
I had Encore as a B.
Oh, yeah, Angkor is
Yeah,
a B. Oh, yeah.
I think Anchor is usable. Yeah, full screen I thought was interesting. That last out effort going this trip at Saratoga was a really good one. Seems as though I don't know if Dylan handles has the horse figured out, or Cassie has the horse figured out, but Cassie Barnes been white hot all meet. It doesn't seem like they've slowed down like some of the other barns that sort of started off hot. So I thought I don't necessarily full screen is going to be a little bit more off the pace. And if you look at optics, they have it looked at made out he's more like a speed horse, but his wins haven't really come when he was a speed horse. It seems like they took him back a couple lengths and kind of made one run that last out, and that seemed to get the best effort out of him. So I thought he was interesting, and I can make an argument. I'll let Ed make an argument for Ancor because I did like that horse a touch as well.
Yeah, did you really talk much about the 7 here at all?
I mean, he kind of mentioned Phil Bauer interests me for sure, given the meet he's having, and just as someone who follows Churchill as closely as I do, he's just impossible to dismiss, even when he doesn't look great. Which this horse, I guess, great would be overstating it, but he's in the mix for me. He needs to improve a little bit, but he is getting weight, so that helps, and I figure he should be able to, with the mini break off that Kelly's Landing, which was strong, and closed the game. Sugar didn't set the world on fire when he shipped out, but didn't embarrass himself either. So Churchill Shipper's doing very well. No reason to think the class won't hold up. And if he's 12-1, which to me means what, fourth or fifth choice in this field, not only will I be excited to maybe upset the race with him on top, but he'll be a key for me underneath Mulligan.
Cobb asking how us bums managed to get the Ed Derosa on. Shoot for the moon, Cobb. You just got to shoot for the moon, man.
Right. Yeah, who wasn't available is probably what he's really asking.
Anything else on this race? I thought at least this one, well, I did think the 6 was formidable. I think you could go a couple different ways. We didn't talk about the.
This is another situation the second choice we've completely not even mentioned.
Gun Pilot. Yeah.
Still here.
I mean, personally, I want no part of Gun Pilot. I think Gun Pilot's kind of fallen off form the last couple of races.
Yeah, I don't even know if he'll be second choice.
No, I don't think he will either. But he was a horse that I just kind of thought was a bit of a takeout reducer in this spot. So I'll put him right in the winner's circle there.
I've been there.
Oh yeah, I already saw some of the reaction to your fair odds for the Travers. So I'm sure
Everyone
you'll
wants
have.
to know where they can bet those prices. The
Yeah,
point of the fair odds is I want to bet those prices too.
Yeah. Uh, Race 12 here. The HL and Jerkens. Mark, otherwise known as
the King's Bishop.
7 furlong,
And
which
it's not
this is.
otherwise. It is the King's Bishop, otherwise known as the HL Jerkins. Just
How
Uh,
come there was never a Queen's Knight?
that's a good question, honestly.
so I know you're a bit of a chess nerd. Does it ever upset you when they use the old style notation that nobody ever uses anymore,
Uh,
like in TV and movies and stuff? Like
oh,
specifically, like I know like in the Queen's Gambit, right? They used it, and like there was some like well some back then people still kind of used it some places and so whatever, but then in oh what was it Ted Lasso they used it too. They're playing like a blindfold match, and they're using the old notation. I'm like, literally, I had never heard that before, in I don't know the last 25 years, let alone now in multiple places in media they use it.
hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say it would throw me off just because so used to seeing, when people post a scenario, or, talk through moves and such. It's new. Um, so yeah, it would throw me off. I haven't seen either of those, so I guess it didn't affect me. But backgammon's the same way. I mean, they have scoring that to me is super easy to understand and intuitive. But if you go back, to some books
Yep.
from 30 years ago before the internet, the way they write about board settings, it's tough.
Yeah. Dejan coming back to say, made sure to check in for my post week Grayosh boom he called on the stream. So you and me both. That was one of the few I think I got right last week. So that felt pretty good to get that home. And hey, hopefully you hit more horses, so that way you're forced to come back every week. So I do appreciate it. But race 12 here, yep, the H. Allen Jerkins, aka the King's Bishop. And hey, look at this. We're getting the double digits now. We got 11 horses in this race. Your morning line favorite looks to be the 8, Bookham Dano here. Mark, was this the race that you had a problem with the line?
No, it was the previous race I had a problem with the line. This race is gonna. I'm gonna go back to Ed's thing about the Travers, where his fair odds and people want to lock him in. I want to know where I can lock in 7-2 on Bookham Dano because I'll take a whole lot of 7-2 on that horse.
Yeah, I have him at 3-1 on my fares,
I think he'll
and
be probably
he's probably less
shorter.
than that.
He's probably 5-2 if you're lucky. I mean, Bookham Dano is a
Oh yeah,
really
he'll
cool.
be two to
Yeah,
one.
2-1 range. Yeah, I mean, Bookham
Yeah.
Dano is just a really cool horse. He's done absolutely nothing wrong. 6 of 8 lifetime. I know there was talk that he might not race here, and they might race him at some other race, but they were all excited that he actually decided to. They decided to choose this one. He's just a cool horse. I really, really like him. I think There's an argument to be made he's a lone A in this spot. There's a couple other horses I did like, but yeah, by far and away, Bookham Dano's the horse to beat in this race.
You know what's funny is I used two horses in the spot as A's, and they're both coming out of the same race. And that's Bookham Dano coming out of that Jersey Shore. And I'm gonna take another shot with this 11 horse, Little Knee, for getting the barn switch to Mark Cassie, who's only I don't know hitting at basically 30% here to start the meet. Or I keep on saying start the meet, but we got 10 days left.
We're
Yeah,
done.
something like that.
So we're 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through it. So yeah, Mark Cassie's just been on absolute fire. Gets Jose Ortiz aboard, who's been riding for him pretty regularly lately, and he's also hitting at 27%. And only lost by a nose to Bookham Dano. I mean, you're getting 10-1 on the morning line on this horse, and I kind of looked through this race. I don't know if I necessarily saw a lot of. I didn't see a lot of ones. Not for especially for a 7 furlong race. You'd think that you'd see a lot more. Straight ones on some of these horses. I mean, you got the 4 who went wire to wire last time out, but that was going a mile at Aqueduct, and other than that, you got a lot of horses that seem to kind of want to target, have someone else kind of go forward. Now, I guess maybe the one concern you have is the one world record who's drawn on the rail against Louis Saez aboard. But I don't know. I thought the 11 has a really nice Brisvig on that last race. Obviously with Bookham Dano just beating him by a nose there. And I don't know. I think if you like Bookham Dano in this spot, I think there's a little reason to like the 11 Little Knee in here as well. So those are the only two horses I'm using as A's. Ed, what about you?
Yeah,
Or I just say
all the way.
upside down, Ed. Actually, I don't know what
What?
happened. Your camera
Side by
flipped.
side.
Oh man, V8.
There
There
you
we
go.
go.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I said pass line, but Bookham Dano's the 80s, not the 7, so never mind. But yeah, I mean, the Jersey Shore looks great to me. One's going to be the favorite, but the other horse, little knee, the 11, uh, just lost by a nose, getting 2 pounds, and now he gets what, 6? How do you not use him? I'm totally with you, Josh. It's 8-11 for me. I do wish if there wasn't the one bet I would absolutely make on this race if it were available is I would lay Timberlake to show. I do not like this horse in this spot. I think he's going to take way too much money. Connections, cut back, no name, et cetera, et cetera. To me, he is the underlay of the race. And, I'm just hoping something works out where there's an opportunity to play against him in the exotics where he doesn't even hit the board. So whether that means the 11 is sort of a key in that regard or, 8-11 with a bunch. Obviously, beating Prince of Monaco would be good too, although I do think he fits much, much better than Timberlake. But if anyone loves Timberlake to show, let's figure something out because I don't like him at all. Domestic product similar to Prince of Monaco for me, but I'm gonna let them beat me. I thought the Jersey Shore was a good race with two good horses. I do prefer Bookham Dano, but the price discrepancy just says I got to use both, so I will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and before you go, Mark, I guess the one thing, honestly, the price on the 11 is why I'm using him as an A. If we were maybe a little bit closer in price, I would probably maybe make the 11 a B and press a little bit more on the 8. But hey, if you get that 11 home and that 11 is going to be 10-1, 11-1, whatever you get, and you're able to get live to all your A's and B's that way. I think that that price is really attractive. And honestly, if I'm doing pick and pray, if I'm doing any kind of contest, I'll definitely
Oh,
have
yeah.
that 11 on top.
Yeah, I mean, pick and pray. If there were some other looks elsewhere, we're like, oh man, if these horses come in, then I want Bookham Dano. But that's kind of not the way the sequence worked out.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there. And the one thing I will say is for an 11 horse race, a lot of times with fair odds, like I'm needing to make a horse 100 or even 200-1, like no hopers, kind of telegraphing that. That's not in play here. I mean, all of these have some chance. So I'm kind of keen to see what, sort of one of the bigger fields we'll get all day. If, Otto the Conqueror, for instance, or Reynolds Channel, if they're more than 50-1, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit with 8 and 11 and, see if they can crash the party.
All right, sorry, Mark. What were you going to say?
No, I was just gonna say, Josh. Knowing you and knowing horses you like, I figured you'd be all over world record. I'm surprised you're not as much. I mean, horse breaks his maiden at second ass, going 7 furlongs. Argument to be made, he just didn't like the kickback in the Maxfield, and I thought his Amsterdam was a really good race. I realize Pratt gets off, but that's probably to ride for. He's probably doesn't have a lot of choice in that matter. And I thought it was really interesting that he's, again, going to be the speed, should get the same exact trip he got in the Amsterdam, and the half furlong is clearly not a problem. It seems like, I realize they haven't listed as an EP5 and he's not an E8, but he seems seems like he's at least like a 2.5 cherry horse, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think on closer look, maybe one I use as a B in this spot, just in case for some reason the 11 doesn't fire, or just the fact, hey, maybe we see the rails just absolutely, lights out. Maybe that's the time, you kind of add that one. Obviously they both ran basically the same Brisvig last time out at 100. I will say on optics, the one definitely doesn't plot out as well. So I don't know if that's just because of the maybe that race two back, where well, I mean, even the every other type thing, the maiden, kind of sat kind of far off, and then the 1-2 back was third by 3 lengths at second call. And I think that just kind of tells you that this is probably a need to lead type horse. So they only got one way to go. They get Luis Saez. So
They're going.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they have no choice, and they have the rail as well, so they have to go.
This is the third consecutive 7 furlong race, so we are going to have two into this that obviously extremely small sample size, but it might glean a clue.
I know we're talking 7 furlong race here, but Ed, but I like to ask all the people I talk to this question. What do you think of the shoot?
I mean, it's terrible. If you're gonna do that, you need it a track that is gonna, hopefully attract world class talent. And the Met Mile, they luck out, whatever. It's got a shorter field, but for a race where you're going to have potential Grade 1 stallion implications, championship implications, races that people want to be in and win, it has to be fair for 10 plus horses, and that's just never going to happen. And what concerns me is I don't care what the talking heads say when I joke about it on X. I'm kind of being serious. There will be a Breeders' Cup at Saratoga in my lifetime, so that chute is going to be used for world championship racing, and it's not world championship configuration.
Mark loves a shoot.
That's not why I love the shoot, though. I mean, no.
I will say, as a better, if you look at how, it allows you to eliminate or to, maybe make some fine line decisions or, pass on a race because you're not sure. I mean, it's playable. I don't want to say like it deters me from wanting to look at races, but, to me, there's a few tracks that, Churchill, Triple Crown track, Saratoga, and I would say Del Mar and Santa Anita now. You want the maximum types of configurations. And I mean, we're seeing it now at Del Mar with the Boo Birds who were out last week about the way the track's playing. That can't happen for a Breeders' Cup. Like, it's just unacceptable. And to me, the Wilson shoe, or Wilton, or whatever it is, I get it confused with the steak race.
Wilson.
Thank you. That just, it hinders, championship implications.
No, I completely agree with it in that regard. The thing I do like about it is the fact if you're bringing somebody new to the track or you just want an amazing viewing experience, you can literally stand 6 foot from the gate when they pop the gates, and it's just an amazing viewing experience. Bring new people. It tends to be quiet out there because nobody realizes they can just walk out and stand right next to the gates as they're going off.
I like that.
Amazing viewing experience for that in that regard. But it's something I want, optional 45s or maiden, claiming 30s run at. I don't want a
Right.
G1. The Met Mile being run out of there was a travesty.
Right.
Things like that. I
It's a
completely
nice
agree
off
with
the
you.
turf option.
Yeah. But
can run a
why
mile
not
still.
why not just run a mile and an eighth or 7 furlongs?
It's all right. Once they add that Tapeta track to Saratoga, then the real
Josh,
get out.
Josh, don't start.
It's coming.
Mark, where did you end up landing here?
Here? Bookham Dano is by far and away my top pick. I don't know if he'll be a lone A or an A and sort of an A light maybe. But I also like World Record, and you guys also mentioned Little Knee. Those were the two other horses that I thought were really interesting and usable in here. If you want to go really deep, there's a few others, but I think you have to get a little creative to get beyond those. I completely agree with Ed. I think Timberlake is a massive fade. And the only horse we didn't talk about was Domestic Product, who I don't quite know what to do with. But I think he is probably the kind of horse that maybe fills out the bottom of your trifecta.
Yeah, I
He
mean, I
had a
don't
great
know.
number in the Dwyer, which surprised me a little bit, although he was carrying 124. Um, so that made me perk up a little bit. But he's cutting back again. Uh, he's like Prince of Monaco to me. Like, how are you going to be surprised if they run well and beat you? But at those prices, I feel good
No.
about taking our stands with 8 and 11. I will say, this race kind of has gained a reputation for stallion making and things like that. They're both geldings, but it is pretty cool that they're by Bachero and Moyaman, which neither would be confused for Tappet or into mischief at this point in their stallion careers. So uh, easy to root for too in that regard. But no, this is a
Yeah.
great race.
Yep. Really fun race.
Yeah, see, Nick Feldman, he's the fan of Prince of Monaco in this spot, and he likes the two Speak Easy a little bit here, who's one that we didn't really talk about. Kind of a new shooter in this spot, coming off back-to-back wins. Um, and I mean, that 7 furlong race at Gulfstream, at least on Brisnet, absolutely fits in here. So, um,
He
obviously a completely different track, but
he fits on figures off that one race, but this is a major step forward class wise. Yeah, he's undefeated, but very lightly raced, and the waters are going to be very much deeper here. It's one of those demand to price kind of horses. At 8 to 1, no. If he drifts up and he's 12 to 1, yeah, sure, I'll take a little bit.
yeah. And Cobb was asking about if there's anything to read into the fact that Irad got aboard here. Um, I
Nope, I
did.
think he's riding for the home team. I mean, he rides a lot of Todd Pletcher's A stock, and he probably didn't have a lot of choice in the matter.
Yeah, and I guess he did mention that. I guess Bookham Dano was thinking about running at Charlestown. So
Yeah,
He,
he was entered in the whatever
yep,
their 3-year-old races.
yep.
yeah.
Um,
That's what I
which
mentioned.
is
They
also
had,
7 furlongs, but
yep,
that is 2 turns at Charlestown.
yeah.
Hey,
I don't think he makes
Friday's
that.
going to be a heck of a day of racing, huh? You got the Charlestown Classic. You got the King's Plate.
Yeah, huge. $2 million races on a Friday.
There you go. How was
Well,
how was
millions
your
Canadian.
oh, true. How was your King's Plate experience?
And I mean, pretty crazy that they postponed. It was really nasty weather though. All the jokes about all weather and stuff, but the way the water flooded other areas that horses access, like the paths and tunnels and stuff, it just unfortunately was a rotten scene.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately there's no good no good way to do something like that when you get hit with those unforeseen circumstances.
It's a total scam anymore.
What do you mean?
Scam's not the right word because it's transparent, but duty free is not a deal.
No.
I did
You
not see one bottle of whiskey where I was like, "Oh, that's a good price without tax."
the only thing
Not
I
once.
the only thing I bought when I came back from Mexico, I bought a bottle of tequila ocho because it was basically a liter for the price you'd pay for like a 750. So it was a little bit of a deal, but like still it wasn't, I mean we're talking a, $60 bottle of tequila, right? We're not talking anything crazy
Right.
there.
That's
And then
basically buy 3 250 milliliters, get one free.
yeah, and then we did there are some scotches that are travel only, so you can only get them in duty
Uh,
free. But I mean, even then, like, sometimes the bottlers are just, making it a travel exclusive, and it's not really all that great. So you got to be careful with that too. So yeah, it's not as I don't think it's as good as it was back in the Seinfeld days when they had a song about it.
Yeah, the The deal, Ed, is if you ever get out east, is to head to New Hampshire. There's no state sales tax, and they have a state liquor authority, so it's all state-run stores
Uh,
that are price fixed. So
is
you
that the
can
whole
get
live free or die vibe?
whole live free or die vibe, and they always have they have a lot of hookups with, because everybody in the New England goes to New Hampshire if you want to buy cool, that kind of stuff, and they have a lot of barrel picks that are really 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 good, and where you'll have I don't know, you go in there, have Jack Daniel's barrel picks, but have 30 options of 30 different barrels that they'll have on the wall, that kind of stuff, which is pretty cool.
I like it.
Uh, Nick Seaver's asking if there's a better double than this one into the Travers, and I will say there absolutely is not, because I think this is the two races
Yep.
that you actually have a chance for probably the best chance for prices, in my opinion. So I do agree with that. And then our friend Dave, really, on the last day of the Democratic convention, you're going to preview Travers Day with Ed. I am so conflicted.
Dave would be happy to know I asked you about that.
You did. Yeah, but hey, we might miss Beyonce. Who knows?
I know. I'm jonesing to see what. Latest I've been seeing is Dixie Chicks introducing W,
Oh God, that's just going to be so. Oh
or
man.
the Chicks. Excuse me.
Oh yeah, they're not Dixie anymore.
No.
All right, we got the last race here, race 13. I think also probably the most interesting race in this sequence, the Grade
Yeah,
One Travers. You don't think so?
No, I agree. I'm
Oh.
saying though that you would want that for $1.25 million.
Yep. And so we're going 1.25 miles, the classic distance here, and yeah, this is an interesting race because I see the morning line favorite is 5-2 on Door Knock. You get 3-1 on Torpedo Anna and Fierceness, and then 7-2 on Sierra Leone, 8-1 on Unmatched Wisdom, and then you got Bat and Dow, Corporate Power, and Honor Marie, 15-1, 20-1, 20-1, and I think this is a race where I think the top four choices, if any of them end up being the favorite, I would absolutely not be surprised. And actually, I think I'd probably be most surprised if the person who's currently the morning line favorite stays the favorite. Yeah, which is kind of funny, but I think Dornock's got a little bit of that. Oh man, now all of a sudden I'm blanking. Oh, Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah, gets no
Rodney
respect.
He doesn't get any
Gets
respect. I
no
don't think.
respect.
But I don't see the public really flocking to bet Dornock in this spot. But Ed, I know you had your fair odds for this. And I'm pretty sure you had Dornock at like 7-2 or 4-1, if I remember correctly. You had him a little bit higher.
Definitely the lowest I've ever. Maybe in the Remsen. I forget who else was in there to like besides Sierra Leone. But yeah, I mean he's a horse I was not a fan of. Really, and I mean the Bluegrass Derby, and then when the Derby was kind of a dud, really dismissed him in the Belmont. Others sniffed him out. I mean that was a great cap. You got a great price. In the Haskell, I just thought he'd be too short a price to play, but. I like him a little here, but certainly as the favorite, he's opposable. I thought when I saw he was the morning line, I was kind of like, oh, really? I don't know about that. HRN, which we have, some AI tools that models morning lines, it agrees with David. It spit out Dornock as the likely favorite as well. So we'll see. But if he's the favorite, there should be opportunity elsewhere.
Well, we'll let you go first, Ed. I don't think you've gone first all night. Where did you land here?
I went first once, but I'll gladly do it again. I landed on the deuce. This is an Occam's razor race for me. Like the simplest explanation to me is the most plausible. There's speed. There's a second tier of speed. So, like, even if someone gets out alone, there's every reason to think they should be pressed in this mile and a quarter race. It's not like Sierra Leone hasn't gotten setups before, so people could say, "Oh, he doesn't like to win." He has his own issues for sure. I definitely don't think he's going to be favored here, even though he does take money. He was 17-10 two back and 4-5 in the Dandy. I think we will actually get an overlay on Sierra Leone, and as you noted, there won't be any surprise really if any of the four end up favored. So I think you want to be a little bit nimble when you get to this race in terms of how you play it and really focus on the overlay and pushing the edge you think you have. But for me, he is absolutely 100% a stone cold single in the pick five. I just do not see any benefit to going any deeper than a horse I think is going to get the setup of his life that we know is fast enough. The numbers are all there against everyone else, and he figures to get the right trip with who I think is the best jockey. It's all pointing to this. This is the. I mean, they need to win this race because I don't see him being a factor in the Breeders' Cup Classic at Del Mar. So Chad knows that. He's a single for me, all in on the Maltese, and then we'll see what the board tells me to do in the Travers itself. But I love Sierra Leone.
Josh, where'd you find this guy?
I don't know. I did not see that coming.
I did.
Which
Boy,
is,
that's I'm. Whew.
man, this.
I mean, like, and we'll see you guys like. So I don't mean to jump the gun, but like the sword dancer, we all were like, man, hold your nose and use both. I can't separate them. And all four of the top four here are good. I mean, if Torpedo Anna wins, we're gonna get it. Like, no surprise. I don't like anyone else beyond the four. Like, I'm not getting cute with batting down as a B or corporate power. Like, it's one of these four. And I just feel like there's so much. I feel like on days like this, so many people, especially being able to be so thin elsewhere, are going to use all four or they're going to use three of the four. Not me. This to me is where you can maybe squeeze the tiniest bit of value by taking a stand, and I'm taking it. Sierra Leone doesn't win. I did not hit a multi-race bet.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just took the opposite side of the coin, where I think you're like, hey, if you're going to take one of the top four choices and the rest of the sequence is kind of chalky, it's like you kind of got to narrow in on one of them. I just decided to toss out all four of the top four choices in this race. I think the thing that kills me, Ed, is I think Sierra Leone's probably the one that would surprise me the most if he wins out of the top four.
Really? The most?
I mean, I mean, it's just Tacitus all over again. The horse runs competitive enough figures. The horse should win, and it just doesn't. And you keep on seeing the little bits of trouble. First it was, hey, well, Tyler messed up. Tyler did this, and then Flavian gets aboard for two tries, and they still don't win.
To be fair, Tacitus was losing to a world beater like Sir Winston.
That is true. That's still one of my. Every once in a while, I go back and watch that Joel Rosario ride on Sir Winston. So, yeah, I don't know. Torpedo Anna, I think, is probably going to be overbet for her legitimate chance to win this race just because of the story. I love great stories in racing because they make overlays. Yeah, I think that Torpedo Anna's chances in this race are probably closer to 6-1 than 3-1. I just don't think the horse is fast enough.
Yeah, 3-1 way too short.
Sierra Leone, I would not be surprised if Sierra Leone's probably is your favorite. But
I think it would be Fierceness or Dornock, and then Torpedo Anna would be my third pick as favorite. But any of the four could be.
Yeah, Dornock. I don't know. Like, I think is kind of gotten away with it the last two times, and I just don't see it happening this time. With not you're getting battened down. Who's definitely shown speed. I don't understand what the plan was in the Jim Dandy after winning the Ohio Derby. Going wire to wire, they decided to. Junior was more than happy to let people go in front, and I don't see him doing that again in this spot. And then obviously Fierceness is also shown some speed. But if there's one thing we know about Fierceness is he absolutely in no way, shape, or form can put two races together. I am so looking forward to trying to find any kind of offshore book where after Saturday I can place a Breeders' Cup Classic future on Fierceness after he finishes like fifth up the track, because I'm gonna see what kind of price I can get on his next race, which I think will probably be the Classic. But yeah, I
I like
ended
the
up
thought.
landing. Oh, what'd you say, Ed?
I like the thought.
Um, I ended up landing actually on the 4 Corporate Power at 15-1 is my top pick. And last time out in the Curlin, I think they went. I think they went pretty moderate in 48-1, 112-3 there. And I think you're going to get faster fractions here. I think that like you said, I think there is going to be a setup for the off the pace horse, and I think Corporate Power is going to be the one that's going to be kind of sitting in, fourth or fifth, and might get first run in front of a horse like Sierra Leone. Going into the Derby, the big knock on Sierra Leone was Sierra Leone was going to be 10, 12, 14 lengths off of it, and we've kind of seen that still since that Derby, and I just think it leaves himself just a little bit too much to do off the start. Now, hey, Flavian, maybe he gets orders to get the horse up a little bit closer this time, and you know obviously things can change, but just going off of what I've seen so far, I think he's just going to be a little too far back. So I want a horse that's a little bit closer. And so I kind of landed on Corporate Power, kind of the new shooter here, one that's kind of been improving as the years gone on, has been working very well for Shug's barn. And, Shug's known for taking his time with these horses and bringing them along. So I thought Corporate Power was very interesting at 15-1. And, a horse that I had absolutely everything going through in the Derby and didn't run a step. I don't know. I'm gonna go back to Honor Marie. I mean, if you're gonna tell me that you're gonna take Sierra Leone at 7-2, then I'll take Honor Marie at 20-1. I mean, I think they're the same horse.
Uh,
So
I
you
fell
know,
for Anna Marie in the Derby, and I learned my lesson real quick after that. I mean, the Belmont wasn't great.
yeah, yeah. And what's funny is every time I look at the Derby, I get sick when I see the Derby and PPs, because I see 3 horses that I had in my pick 5, and I did not have them in that order in the trifecta. So that's always fun. But yeah, I'm going to go against the 4 likely short prices in here. I'm going to take my shot with the 4 Corporate Power and the 6 Honor Marie. Part of it is I think just value in this spot, and I think the other part of it is in this sequence. There's a good chance there. I mean, there's all the chance that it legitimately goes favorite, 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 favorite the first 4 races. So I'm at least, if it does run that way, I'm at least going to give myself some type of shot to make a little bit of money here in this last race. Maybe I'm getting a little too game theory here. Any of the top 4, I think, absolutely have a shot to win this race. I'm not going to be sitting here and, well, maybe if Sierra Leone wins, I'll be a little surprised. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with a couple of bombs in this race, and kind of go against where I think the public's going to go.
Depending on how narrow you are in the 4 before this, I could understand the case for using all 4 that aren't the top 4.
Yeah, I mean,
I
go
think
ahead, Mark.
Josh, with your structure, if you're going to toss the top 4, you just buy the rest of the race. If that's your argument, I mean, just because if somebody like a Batten Down wins at 20-1, you're gonna hate yourself if you were right and had the right idea but didn't execute it perfectly. And I mean, I think if you're playing that approach, to Ed's point, it makes all the sense. If you're playing what is a very game theory type of approach.
Yeah, I honestly, Batten Down is one that, like I said, I looked really hard on. Um, I thought that Ohio Derby, I mean, was pretty damn impressive visually. The Briz figure came back good. The fraction, I mean, set honest fractions went 46-4. So I mean, I know it's Thistledown, and Thistledown was cranked to
Ah,
the
shit.
absolute. But I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Mark, where did you land?
I think there's four short-priced horses, and I only need two of them. I just happened to land on different ones than Ed did, which is kind of shocking to me. So I don't know if I should start with the good or the bad. I don't know. Let me start with the good. Torpedo Anna, she's obviously 6 of 7. She's 2 of 2. At Saratoga, she's done all the things. We all know the story. She drew the rail. She should get the trip that she wants from that rail post. Is she going to be overbet? Yeah, probably. It's a good story, and those good story horses are overbet very often. But ask Josh how it worked out for him betting against Cody's Wish every time he ever ran. So I think, and oftentimes when
And
you see these,
Flightline.
and yeah, for that one too. Um, you know, when you have somebody like Torpedo Anna, oftentimes the filly going against the boys, you look at her and you're like, oh, they're a little too slow on paper, but it's the good story and they're taking money off that. She fits on every metric, and I think she's a hard horse to say, oh, I don't like her because it's whatever reason. I think she belongs in this race, and it's really awesome to see Ken McPeak stick her in here. So she's one that I will have as an A, and my other A is gonna be Dornock, and much like Ed mentioned earlier in the year, I was very much against Dornock. I just didn't get it. I figured it out in the Belmont, and then backed it up in the Haskell. I was against him both times, and maybe this is the Caleb wedding funeral thing, but I think Dornock is one of those horses that that kind of seems to be that maybe a little later blooming 3-year-old and is really kind of putting it together. And he gets no respect. And I think of the four, there's a pretty good argument to be made. He'll be the longest price of those four, just given the fact that the connections are not as prevalent Saratoga connections. And the two horses that I think are both takeout reducers. Let's start off with Fierceness. He's in every other type. He's been in every other type for quite a while. Mike Rapole is joking about the fact that he, is going to lose this race and then win the Breeders' Cup Classic. And when the owner is making that joke, it's kind of like, okay, everybody sees it. It's a little too obvious, but on connections alone and on name recognition alone, he's going to take money. And he's a head case, and I just want no part of him. Maybe he strings it together and puts two together. He just won't have me with him when he does it. And the other horse is Sierra Leone that I want no part of. I think Sierra
Ugh.
Leone is just another takeout reducer in this spot. He is a horse that he was supposed to win his last 3 races in a row. And, I don't know what it is. My gut says that they need to cut him back and that he does not want to go this far. And he just gets leg weary and he just starts leaning on people in the stretch and he can't run straight. And he's had, a bunch of really good jocks on him. There's just way too many question marks. Does he clunk up and get third, after, breaking dead last because he can't get out of the gate and, coming flying from 20 lengths and then everybody bets him back again? Yeah, probably. But I just can't keep going back to the Sierra Leone well when he clearly it just isn't. I don't know if he's a cut below. I don't know if he gets leg weary. I don't know if he needs a cut back, but something's not right there, and they are really trying to force this horse into being a classic distance horse. When they run him back at the Breeders' Cup, in the Dirt Mile or something, I'll be very interested in betting him. So I think both Sierra Leone and Fierceness are takeout reducers, and I think you just really need Torpedo Anna and Dornock in this spot, and hopefully I catch some prices earlier on in the sequence because I have a few I like, and I can get by with just those two. And I realize I'm probably taking first or second choice and then fourth choice, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, Cobb says hearing all the hate for Sierra Leone is probably music to his ears. So I don't know. Maybe I'm dead wrong about the line on this. Like I honestly thought that Sierra Leone was going to be the favorite in here, if not Fierceness. I thought those two were going to take all the money. I thought Torpedo Anna would probably sit as like your third choice at like 7-2 ish, and then Dornock would probably be closer to 4-1 than what the other horses are, or maybe none of the other horses take money and you get a bunch of horses at 7-2. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, those
Yeah.
four are going to be the ones in some structure. I didn't love that after the Jim Dandy, the Travers did not appear to be the goal. And then Mindframe had his setback, and then they
Yep.
were all in.
Yep. Yeah, because they wanted to send him PA Derby originally,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
I
And
kind
then
of think
that Yeah.
fierceness would have ended up here anyway, but I don't know. That in addition to all the negatives you mentioned, at this price, it's in my head like, man, they weren't gung ho Travers after what I thought was an impressive Jim Dandy win, and I didn't think Sierra Leone, really was that bad to be second. So the higher price, I'll play him here to turn the tables. But yeah, that bothers me a little bit. It's kind of the inside baseball head game of how to play the race. I didn't love that there wasn't this like, hey, we got our Travers horse. He's going to be the favorite.
Yeah.
Really, the fact that he isn't at least the morning line favorite, I agree with the comment. Fierceness, I think he will be the favorite. But
You
I
think
mean,
he will
still,
be?
nevertheless, the money this horse takes, and he's off a win, and he's not going to be favored. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Feels
thought
off.
I thought this was an interesting comment from Fortnite is fun on our lone Twitch viewer, which I always get a kick out of when he comments. He said that this is one of those
Hi.
races where you might not know the value plate until the last minute. And I'll tell you, like I said, if a horse like Dornock, ends up floating up, like I think there's a shot that he does. If Torpedo Anna floats up closer to a price that I think she should be, I think that's why it's important to do handicapping similar to how Ed does with your kind of value line, right? Because I mean, it doesn't happen often, but every once in a while, you look at a race and you're like, wait, I thought this horse was going to be 3-1. This horse is 5-1, right? And opinions change, right? I think too often, sometimes when people handicap races, they're focused on picking the winner, right? And get a little results oriented. When in reality, there's a right price to bet to basically to bet any horse, right? Like if I were to give you 1,000 to 1 on one of these, long shots, like you'd be stupid not to at least put some money on it,
That's right.
right? Whether or not the horse only wins one out of every 500 times or whatever, like you're still making out with value, right? Closing line value in uh, sports betting terms, but yeah, I do think it is going to be a little bit interesting here. And Nick mentioning that I think you're getting value on any of the top four if you're confident in them and not speaking. I think he means spreading. Nine out of 10 times, if any of these other horses came in any race, it'd be 4-5, and that's right. I think Andrew might have said this on Drinking Champagne earlier. It's like, hey, it's only 8 horses, 9 horses, or whatever. Right? It's not like the Derby where we get 20, but for the most part, I think it's the right 8 horses. I think this is a
Yeah.
good field.
Who's not here that you want to be here? I can't think of anybody.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that Dragoon horse for Cox.
Maybe, yeah, but everybody else is, either her or something. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
they're
Forever Young.
this is yeah. Well, it's the same thing as the personal ensign tomorrow, right? I think the personal ensign, everybody you wanted to be there was there, and it's really nice to see these big races come up, and you go, everybody I want to see, they're there. I want to see how they all face up versus one another. So
Moose.
No, this I mean championship implications and all that. I mean it's
mhm.
what the Travers is about. Unfortunately, we're at the point where this is going to be their last race till the Breeders' Cup probably.
Yeah,
Whereas, you know, 15, 20 years ago they'd have that first race against Older beforehand. But oh well. But yeah, Sierra Leone for me.
the whole Jockey Club Gold Cup being moved forward thing that killed it, which sucks.
Yeah. I mean, from a pattern perspective, I get it because you already have the 9 and the Whitney, and
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea when they, and the way people are prepping for Breeders' Cup earlier and earlier, but then they also want that 9 furlong prep, so you take that away.
And yeah, Matt Carlson saying this is indeed everyone that's left of a lackluster 3-year-old class. I feel like we say that every year now.
Yeah, we say that every year. I don't agree with it though. I think This isn't the best 3-year-old class I've ever seen. It's far from the worst, though. So I think this is a very middle of the road 3-year-old crop, and at least it's interesting, good racing. I can remember a lot of years where you go to the Jim Dandy or the Travers or whatever, any of these 3-year-old races, and there's one horse and then a bunch of allowance horses in the field, and it's like, okay, I'm betting a 1-9 on whoever. At least here, it's a good betting race. It's at least a compelling betting product. There's no monster who I think is a generational talent, or a horse of the decade or horse of the century kind of horse in here. But this is a very good, good race. It's a competitive race. It's a good field, and it should be a great, a great thing to see on Saturday.
All right. Well, Ed, what do you got going on this week? Where else can people find you? I know you're usually all over the place on YouTube and Twitter and things. What do you got going on this week?
Yeah, well, with big day at Woodbine tomorrow, definitely going to be following along with the King's Plate card, which I believe 2 of the races are part of the cross country, so that's fun.
Oh, nice.
And
Very
then
nice.
that leads into the action at Charlestown. So, yeah, a nice Friday of action before the big Travers Day.
All right. One other interesting question I saw pop up. If Torpedo Anna wins, does she go to the Classic?
No.
No, they probably run their distaff.
Yeah, I think that's just leaving too much money on the table there.
And they might even, I mean, depending on what their goals are, they might stand pat.
And Lloyd saying that he thinks Fierceness is going to try and go get to the wire quickly because being on the outside post. Yeah, I'll tell you, man, this optics plot just looks absolutely disgusting. Doesn't even really, it's just not a good plot. So you can't really tell, I think, what's going to happen here. Although Sierra Leone is that big old Q4 square, so I know that's what you're looking at, Ed. So,
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, I'm not typically a trip guy. I mean, numbers are the numbers to me, but he's the second fastest behind Fierceness, at least at Fierceness's best, and he's going to have pace to chase. So
Cool. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. Obviously, check us out at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. Mark is at 2turns. Ed at EJXD2. And you can also catch him on Horse Racing Nation. I saw that you're going to be on the Ron Flatter pod, I think, talking about some stuff too for Saturday, right? So,
yeah, we already recorded. I gave out all different picks, so it's going to be, I'm going to be right somewhere.
so you can redboard it.
You want full tout logic. If you give out different picks for every race on every different platform, you can say, "Look, I was right over there."
Yeah,
Mark,
I had all the winners.
I did 20 shows for Derby, so
Mark loves when I pop into Discord randomly and say, "Oh, like congratulations to all the buyers of the cherry sheet that doesn't exist," and redboard
that
something.
like tungsten.
So yeah, exactly. It's like Tungsten Plus, but you got to buy the plus version, in order to get the good stuff. So, all right. Have a good week, guys. Let's make some money, and catch you guys later.